First on the agenda we have, or could be a bit of a lopsided game, I think, Liam, with South Morang taking on Heidelberg West, and it's first versus last, and of course Heidelberg West last week missing out on a golden opportunity to win their first game of the year against Watsonia. For the second time this year against Watsonia, led at 3/4 time and then unable to get the job done in the last quarter. Last time it was 6-1 in that final term in Watsonia's favour. This time it was 3-0, so they're going to be burning, I guess, after losing that a great chance, but you just give them no chance this week against South Morang in getting their first win. Of course, the Lions last weekend, first versus second against Parkside, and got the job done again quite comfortably. 45-point winners, 10 wins on the trot, haven't lost since round one, and just doing everything right ahead of what looks like a pretty big finals campaign for the Lions this year.
Yeah, it's amazing. They just can't seem to put a foot wrong with them. As you said, Parkside were almost clearly the second best team in the comp on form this year, and then South Morang made them look pretty not average, but not near that top level. By 45 points, a pretty big win when you think they almost doubled the score, and just continue on their way. But it should be good next week when we actually get to see South Morang and Panton Hill. We haven't seen a Div 3 game all year, but it'll be good to get down and see that one. Obviously, Panton Hill have a bye this week, so it'll be interesting to see how South Morang, maybe if they, no disrespect to Heidelberg West, maybe rest a few players or something, knowing they've got a big game the week after, or if they just come out and try to keep going on the current form. But it should be an interesting game. Well,
your man Troy Jeanette had another blinder. He seems to be best on ground every week for South Morang, along with Travis Stevens. But you do look at those scoring shots as well, and it was first versus second, and you see it was 32 scoring shots to 17. So they didn't kick straight at all. Last quarter, kicked 5 goals to 2. Final margin was actually the biggest margin of the match, but they were never in any danger of ever dropping that game against Parkside. And twice they've taken on Parkside now. They've beaten both times by in excess of 4 goals. And while the Devils are playing some good football, they're just against South Morang unable to quite get the job done just yet. And they're actually playing the next game we'll have a look at. It's Parkside up against St Mary's, as I've just taken a look at the notes now. Second versus third, it still is, despite both sides losing last weekend. Of course, St Mary's went down to Panton Hill. Rejuvenated Panton Hill with a new coach on board in John Byron, but definitely right in the game. Last quarter, 7 points down, but just didn't go to plan in the final term. 5-1 in favour of Panton Hill. So St Mary's just unable to win that game. It's actually twice now they've lost to Panton Hill, and it could prove costly come season's end, because it is going to be tight for those third and fourth spots, with three sides really pushing hard for it. So massive win for Panton Hill in that one. St Mary's obviously looking to bounce back this weekend. Parks, as we just mentioned, probably never really in the hunt last weekend against South Morang. You think St Mary's at home could be favoured in this one? I still think Parkside might get the win on the board. They've only lost twice this year, both times to South Morang, and I think they might just get the job done this weekend.
Yeah, it'd be a bit disappointing for St Mary's. Obviously, the 5-1 last quarter makes it look a lot worse than it was for them on the day. As you said, they were pretty competitive and really in the game all day, and they just let it slip in that last quarter. And I think at home, when they'll really pump it up. They know it's a massive game, obviously not just this week, but for the finals, as you said. And I think you sort of want to tip St Mary's a little bit. They'll be right in it. Parkside will probably enter slight favourites, but wouldn't be surprised if South Morang got over the line.
I was doing
St Mary's, sorry.
Yeah, and doing a bit of research during the week, and just have a look at some of the scores involving St Mary's games, and they really don't concede many points a game. I guess it's their defence that wins it a lot. I think on average, it's less than 70 points a week they concede, but they are actually the only side inside the top 4 at the moment who doesn't score 100 points a game. We saw on the weekend they only kicked 10 goals against Panton Hill. It wasn't ideal conditions, but you look at it, Panton Hill kicked 14 goals and 17 behind, so they only kicked 2 straight, whereas St Mary's only had 20 scoring shots for the day. So you just wonder in those big crunch games whether they can kick a winning score. So it remains to be seen. They have beaten some of the more prominent teams in the division so far. Of course, the only team to beat South Morang, but you just wonder in those big games if they can get that winning score on the board. Final game in Division 4 of the weekend is Reservoir, who returns from the bye, and they take on Watsonia. Now, before the bye, of course, Reservoir had the game won against South Morang. 7 minutes to go, led by 22 points, and then it all went pear-shaped. The line just went bang, 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 and won by 7 points. Really pitched it in the end. I think, as I mentioned last week, this South Morang coach, Gary Kalinikos, just thought that they really did steal that game. He thought that Reservoir was a better team across the 4 quarters. But as you know, Reservoir this year, we get a bit of that Jekyll and Hyde mentality, because they take on Watsonia, who've only won the top 2 games this year, both times against Heidelberg West. Last time around, Reservoir only won by 5 points. Of course, the week before the South Morang game, only beat Heidelberg West by 3 points. So against the lesser likes, they have struggled to some extent this year. you think at home though they surely have to win this one and jump back into the top four if they can do so.
Yeah, because another good win for Watsoni last week. Obviously they were coming from behind again in that last quarter, so they're making a bit of a habit against that with Heidelberg West. But yeah, Reservoir have to win this. You can't really imagine any scenario that would have them slipping up in this one if they're going to push into the finals. And yeah, they, as you said, they just have to win this one. They can't let it slip.
Division 2 sees an absolute cracker this weekend. It's got Lower Plenty versus Lalor's first game on the agenda, and it's going to be a massive game. Of course, Lower Plenty just dropping to one game so far this season. It was in the round 6 matches a day against Lalor, so they'll be keen to atone for that. While Lalor have slipped up twice since that day. That win did put them first in the ladder, but as you know, losses to Thomastown and Epping 2 weeks in a row saw them drop down to the second spot. They're regaining a full list, a few key players coming back in on the weekend. There was Stephen Marshall, had a few big outs throughout the course of the last couple of rounds, and Ventura's going to be coming back. I think they've also got Big Mafilovsky back for this weekend as well, so I think they've just timed their run into this game quite perfectly. On the weekend, they had a massive win against Hurstbridge. Peter Shepherd, as per usual, gets on the score sheet, but 14 goals is a pretty amazing effort. He's hit 25 goals in the last 3 weeks, so he's in some red-hot form. Far and away kicked the most goals in the competition now. I think there was a bit of a tussle at one point with the Barton brothers and also a few others, but he really has jumped clear in first spot in the goal-kicking table. Shannon Smith's another one who's helped out. He's kicked a dozen in the past 2 weeks, so the big forwards are in form. As we know of Lalor, it's the defence is really strong, and that's what actually beat Lower Plenty last time around. The Bears kicking just the 8 goals in that first outing, but I think this one's down at Lower Plenty. I think this time around, I think they might square the ledger. Again, I don't think there'll be too much in it, but I think they're just probably pretty disappointed in that last performance, keen to atone for it, and haven't had too much to play for the last couple of weeks, got some massive wins. But when this one comes around, both teams are going to be hungry for the win. I think Lower Plenty might just square the ledger this time around.
Yeah, I probably lean towards Lower Plenty as well. As I said, all year they haven't really put a foot wrong, and you think that loss against Lalor as well. At least the extent of the loss was a bit of an aberration. It was really strange performance from Lower Plenty. When we've seen other times this year, they've been really dominating, have controlled the ball against Lalor. They were just pretty poor on the day actually, which is a bit disappointing for them. But yeah, with Phil Lalor, big Peter Shepherd, obviously 14 last week. He's obviously come back from his honeymoon pretty rejuvenated or something. He's in fantastic form, and yeah, 14 goals is a massive effort. But I think you'll find it a little bit tougher against Lower Plenty this week, and you'd still back him to kick his 5 or 6 he seems to do most weeks, but I don't think it'll be enough to get Lalor over the line.
Well, as you just mentioned before, the boys' Lower Plenty last time around was pretty deplorable, and it was all brought about by the fantastic pressure put on by the Lalor midfield who just dominated the whole day, but also the Lalor half forwards who just didn't allow the ball to get out of that forward half, and try as they might that first quarter, they did have that strong breeze Lower Plenty, but they just could not get the ball outside of their defensive 50, and whenever they did, it just came straight back in, and they really set up that win in the first quarter that Lalor did last time around, and despite trailing by 3 points, it was a 5-goal breeze. Yeah, that's a massive win, and by half time it was 5 goals of difference and it was game over. So maybe this time around I think we might be in for a bit of a closer game, because I think that one was over at half time, but should be a really good performance, so make sure you get down to Lower Plenty on the weekend and check that one out. Thomastown hosts Epping in the second game of Division 2, and Epping again just on the weekend just getting the job done fantastically. They're almost a full team. There you say, the third of the ladder. They're just so dangerous with the likes of Moore and Jared King coming into the side this year, and Adrian Totino's playing some good footy once again, and Aaron Willis just on the score sheet again last week with another bag of 5 goals. Against Simon Creek, I thought it could have been a bit of a danger game despite playing at home. Of course, the Creekers still haven't beaten the team inside the top 4. I thought they might really push hard last weekend. 9 points difference at three-quarter time. Epping comes out, kicks 7 goals to 0 in the final quarter. You look at the scoring shots as well for the day, 32-13. In the end, the 9-goal margin actually could have been a lot more, I think. And with Jared King best on ground again, and Daniel Moore second best, those recruits are just having a massive impact on the club at Epping. And you think against Thomastown this weekend, they won't have too many problems.
Yeah, and against another stat that jumps out, obviously at half time last week, Epping were tied 7-2 with Diamond Creek, and then from there they kicked 10-13, I think it was, to 3 goals won. So they had 24 scoring shots to 3 in the second half, which was massive. If they would have been, even if they would have just kicked a little bit straight, it could have even bigger the margin. I think the 51 points it was, but I think as well, if Epping get this one and they will have a loss, they might push up into second. So a lot on the line for Epping, even though it's one they should be winning pretty comfortably, but they've still got plenty to fight for, and I think because of that they'll come out very fired up and will just be too good this week.
Well, yeah, it is a good point, because in that second half, you are correct with those scoring shots, but 3 goals, 9 in the third quarter to 3 straight, so they really could have blown that away by 3/4 time, and in the end, they got the job done in the last quarter. Thomastown, well, they have beaten Lalor during the course of this year. Of course, Radcliffe Lowell plenty for the first half, and that in their last clash, just down by the 1 point at half time, but unable to go with it. And on the weekend, against the Fitzroy Stars, dominated in the first quarter, kicked 7 goals to 1, but from there, 5 goals to 17 after quarter time, and the Fitzroy Stars just run away for a massive win for the NAIDOC Cup as well, of course, recognising the achievements and the contributions of Indigenous people to in Australia. And of course, the Fitzroy Stars playing the next game against Mernda, definitely looking to win 2 games in a row here. I think it's at Victoria Park as well. Yes, they're probably final chances, probably gone at this stage of the year. I think there's such a gap between 4th and 5th, but definitely a lot of pride on the line if they can push hard, at least build towards next year as well. It'd be good just to get a few more wins on the board. And of course, this weekend against Mernda, struggled again last weekend, and you think at Victoria Park, Fitzroy Stars coming in with plenty of confidence after a big win last weekend. You think they'd win that one comfortably?
Yeah, it was a great bounce back win for Fitzroy. So they were pretty poor against Epping a couple of weeks ago. We saw them on the match of the day, and as I said, even if they probably won out from here, they'd struggle to push into the top 4. But if they just keep winning, keep playing good footy, they can keep a lot of pressure on Diamond Creek, who are probably the 4th side in that top 4. So yeah, all likelihood they're not going to make the finals. If they win, they can keep the pressure on them. Who knows what happens? And Mernda were a lot closer than I think we actually thought they'd be last week. No disrespect to Mernda, but I think we all thought it'd be a lot further out than 81 points. So they could have from Mernda in that one. They were pretty inaccurate, 5-17. So which was, I think they might be 5-7, not 17 in the sheets. Just doing the maths in my head, but yeah, it was a bit unfortunate for Mernda last week, and Fitzroy should be too good this week.
It's a good point you make, because I think going into that game, we all thought that the Lowell plenty forwards would just tear Mernda to the shreds, but they did a really good job, and Billy Barton ended up kicking 5 goals, but Darcy actually didn't get on the score sheet at all. So there you go.
Ben Gill only won as well, so they did pretty well.
Yeah, so they've actually been able to maintain those types, and it's just another step forward for them, of course. Still rooted to the bottom of the ladder at the moment, but I guess if they can sneak a win going into these final stages of the year, they could definitely open up that race for relegation once again. But on the weekend for Fitzroy, you see 7 goals to 1, as I mentioned in the first quarter. Pretty easy, despite Thomas keeping with a big breeze. They just drop your head, I guess, and think it all gets too hard. But they bounce back in terrific fashion in the second quarter with 9 goals to 1 of their own, and from there just run on with the game. And exciting to see once again Damien Walker in the best, an exciting player, and of course Aaron Sharp kicking 4 goals, and 2 players who you pay your money just to probably watch those two, because they can put on quite a show for you. And I think Aaron Sharp took a pretty big mark as well, so pretty exciting game he played, and good to see him getting in the best, and also amongst the goal kickers. The final game for Division 2 is Hurstbridge up against Diamond Creek, and for Hurstbridge it's getting more difficult, I think, by the week. We did mention that they got a few wins. They got that win against Fitzroy Stars, and we just said going into the second half of the year that they could actually push forward and win a few more games, and perhaps push for 5th or 6th spot, but it really has gone pear-shaped, unfortunately. And Diamond Creek, I'm pretty sure, going to be keen to atone for another loss there being this weekend. It could get to almost again a 3-digit margin. And Diamond Creek, I guess, need to win just to all but anything, just 100% secure that 4th spot. I think it's pretty much done. But I guess if Fitzroy Stars get another win against Mernda this weekend, funny things could happen. But you think with the Diamond Creek this weekend and a big win would all but shore up that top 4, and you can't really see Hurstbridge getting an upset this one, just given their performances in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, and worryingly for Hurstbridge, I think that's two weeks in a row they've lost by over 100 points. So not good times for Hurstbridge at the moment. And as you said, Diamond Creek really need to win this one. They've been beating all the Science Blood all year, and I think they'll continue to do that this week. But the real test of Diamond Creek will come, I think next week they might have Epping. I think either next week or the week after. They've got them within a few weeks, so they really need to start beating those sides above them. Diamond Creek, we've seen all year they can comfortably take care of the sides below them, but they'll really need to start knocking off those sides above them. They obviously won't be looking past Hurstbridge at all. They'll still have to be at their best to get a win, but that's the main thing with Diamond Creek from here on out. If they can, sort of the opposite to Greens, what we're talking about in Division 1, when Greens were able to beat those sides above them, so going into the finals, even if they are a little bit down the ladder, they'll have plenty of confidence, where Diamond Creek are a little bit opposite. They've just been getting the job done against the lower sides, but haven't stepped up yet. So that'll be the main thing they need to do in the next couple of months.